people think God created the universe. Some people think nothing created the universe, which is the funniest guess. And the nothing people make fun of the God people. They say God doesn't exist. I'm like, okay, maybe. But you know what definitely doesn't exist? Nothing. That's the defining characteristic of nothing, is that it doesn't exist. So what are we talking about? Either you think it's God, something you can't see, touch, taste, photograph, and science can't prove, or you think it's nothing, something you can't see, touch, taste, photograph, and science can't prove. But I think we can all agree, if your nothing sometimes spontaneously erupts into everything, that's a pretty magical nothing, you guys. And ask the nothing people, what happens when you die? They'll tell you, nothing. You go into nothing. I'm like, you mean you merge back with your creator? That's heaven.
You're welcome back to this channel. In today's video, I will seek to answer the question, does God exist? Is the material universe all that is or all that will be? The reason I'm making this video is because a few days ago, probably about a week, I put out a video, where a comedian was seemingly asking the atheists how God and nothing look alike, or people who believe that nothing created the universe seem to have certain similarities in common or characteristics in common. And what stood out for me was the fact that there were a lot of comments, a lot of questions about the existence of God and the person, the brain, the personality behind the creation of the universe. And I had to take the responsibility to make this video for you to see why we believe that God exists, to perhaps believe with us that God exists. I'll watch that video with you and then I'll drop my thoughts after that.
People think God created the universe. Some people think nothing created the universe, which is the funniest guess. And the nothing people make fun of the God people. They say God doesn't exist. I'm like, okay, maybe. But you know what definitely doesn't exist? Nothing. That's the defining characteristic of nothing, is that it doesn't exist. So what are we talking about? Either you think it's God, something you can't see, touch, taste, photograph, and science can't prove, or you think it's nothing, something you can't see, touch, taste, photograph, and science can't prove. But I think we can all agree, if your nothing sometimes spontaneously erupts into everything, that's a pretty magical nothing, you guys. And ask the nothing people, what happens when you die? They'll tell you, nothing. You go into nothing. I'm like, you mean you merge back with your creator? That's heaven.
All right, so from his definition of nothing, which science can't taste, touch, photograph, or prove, it seems to me like he's trying to present God as nothing, or nothing as God. And so he's bringing people's thoughts to the place of saying that nothing you are talking about, could that be God? And people came at that video asking, if God exists, why is evil in the world? And so many, philosophical, atheistic questions that poured in. This video precisely is to answer, does God exist? Is the material universe all that is or all that will be? And to help you understand this, I will ask these questions, or I will share these thoughts with you that seeks to bring our minds to understanding the concept of creation, or being or a creator, his creation, how the creator and the creation exists. That would help us drive home the points that God exists and he's the creator of the material universe that we see. It doesn't come from nothing, actually. It comes from someone. It comes from someone very intelligent, that has an intelligent mind, a creative designer, everything you can think of. The first thought I want to share with you is this: whatever begins to exist has a cause. This is very obvious. This microphone that I'm using has a cause. There is a creator behind it, there's a manufacturer behind it, there's a brand behind it, there is an intention behind it, there is a desire behind it, there's a motive behind it. So whatever began to exist or begins to exist must have a cause. It does not just happen. And I will say that even the people who believe the Big Bang Theory, right, that light busted forth and the world was created seemed to drive home this thought that I'm sharing, that whatever began to exist had a cause. So if they believe that there was a big bang and the world that we live in created and somehow we just came into what we are, or some went further to say after the big bang there was an evolution, and from evolution we arrived at where we are, who we are, what we do, what we have. What I'm simply saying is that that still comes from a cause. The next question we want to ask is, what is the cause? Is there a cause? Who is the cause? Right? So, but you must accept, you have to believe that there was a cause. You cannot believe that there's no cause, because you watching this video had a cause to your existence. What do I mean by that? I have never in my entire life seen an ape give birth to a human, but an ape definitely gives birth to an ape. That is to say, there is a cause for even the ape. You who watches this video, me here sitting right here creating this video, had a cause, and it's my parents. There was an activity that happened biologically that led to my existence. That is another proof that whatever begins to exist has a cause. I push further to say, even the atheists that exist did not just exist. They had a cause, and that cause was the biology or the biological activity that happened between their parents that arrived at creating or them being in existence. And they also have children, right, who exist because of the cause of their parents. This establishes this first thought that I have, that whatever begins to exist has a cause. Check through history, check life, check everything around you. There is a cause and an effect. The second thought I want you to understand is that the universe began to exist. So if this microphone begins to exist or exists because someone began that existence by creating it, or I exist because my parents copulated and in biology and have me, or you exist because your parents gave birth to you, or you have children and they exist because you gave birth to your children, it says to me that this universe that we live in exists. Why is it that we see everything that it seems to be created in the universe by man, that is man-made things that are created by man? We know that their creators exist. I can trace this microphone down to the creator, that is the manufacturer, by the brand, trace it down to the manufacturing line, the batch number, and all of that. I can trace this camera. It's a Sony camera and it is created by Sony. It is not hidden. Their brand and their stamp is on it. I can trace it down to the manufacturing company. You can trace everything on the earth down to the manufacturing company. Why is it difficult to trace the universe back to the creator? I'll tell you that further in this video. If the universe began to exist, it therefore means that there's a cause. If everything we see exists because of a cause, then this universe exists because of a cause. Some believe it's the Big Bang Theory. Well, others believe we just existed, we evolved from something, we just existed. There's a lot of crazy thoughts out there. I saw a lot in the comment section of that video that I posted. We just came about, we are here, we come from nothing, we vanish into nothing. When we die, we just go back to nothingness. And that's interesting thought, right? Because I wonder how you think that thought when you live in a real world and see creators that are created in the image of someone who we call creator. You acknowledge, you use the devices. The device you're watching this video was made by someone, but you can't accept that the universe was made by someone as well. Well, I think that to cut some slack for the people who don't believe that somebody created the universe is the fact that they can't see that person. Yes, you can see Sony CEO, you can see me, you can see your children can see you, so you can trace the creator to his creature, or rather to his creation, but you don't seem to believe because we can't see the person that created, the world. And that's where the puzzle comes from many people. I'll show this puzzle to you, right? Believing a thing exists with no cause is like believing in magic. And that right still involves a heart and a magician. So even people who just see a magician play a trick or do something and it looks so beautiful and it's like, wow, how did he do that? Something came from nothing. So a magician can make something come out of nothing. A magician can hold a handkerchief right now and do something spontaneously, and something that was not there comes into existence. I understand that argument of that scenario, but have we looked closely at that same scenario to realize that that magician caused for whatever you see to happen? And also that that magician will most likely have used a hat or a stick. So something and someone in this case, that is the magician, had caused for whatever it is that you saw to exist. I'm driving closely to my destination. So if something can come from nothing, why don't we see this happen all the time? This is a question for you to think about. If something can just come from nothing, we should see it happen every time. We should be able to wake up one day and see something that was not in existence just happen from nothing. So probably as you're watching this video, right, something that is not in this video should just happen. It should just exist. It should just erupt. It should just spontaneously burst in that room where you're watching, or in that car where you're watching me from. It should just happen. It doesn't work that way. The universe wasn't built or designed that way because there's an intelligent designer that has an intention for the universe. I hope that with these, superficial things that I'm sharing with you, you are able to believe that really, if we look closely at this argument, there has to be a cause. There has to be a being, a person, an intelligent designer, a creative designer behind everything we see and do in the universe. Now, it is said that the universe, right, has been here forever. The universe is just here. There was no creator. The universe is just here. I have a question for such persons or for such thoughts. You just think that the universe is just here. But the first and second law of thermodynamics tells us that the universe is slowly moving out of energy. So if the universe has always been here, but science proves to us or tells us that energy is lost, energy usually keeps getting lost. There is a dissipation of energy. Don't you think that the universe would actually or should actually have gone into exhaustion at this point if the universe is constantly losing energy? This is a food for thought for you, because every man always comes to a point where they die. There is always a loss of energy as life goes on, as age passes by, that we arrive at the point where we die. So there is an exhaustion somewhere along the line of our lives. And we then see that the universe seems to not be going into exhaustion. Why is that so? Some people will say that the universe is all powerful. Some people will say that the universe itself is God. That's what some people say. I saw comments where people say the universe is God or God is the universe. Well, I don't know about that. But what I do know is that there's someone that holds the universe. And the Bible will tell us that he holds everything by the word of his power. So I can go deeper and further to say, when the Bible talks about God said, let there be light, and there was light, what if that's the Big Bang theory that people see or scientists believe that it came from light? That the saying of God or the saying of a creator was what we see as men or in the earth or by science as the Big Bang theory. What if that is actually the case? Right? And so the universe will have run out of energy if it has always existed. This present universe will have literally run out of energy. It will have crumbled if it has always existed. It means there was a creation, there was a starting, there was a beginning, and that beginning came from a person, a creator. In conclusion, the universe has a cause, and since the universe can't cause itself, its cause must be beyond the space and time universe. So if the universe can't cause itself, then there must be a cause beyond space, beyond time, beyond the universe itself. It must be spaceless, it must be timeless, it must be immaterial, and unimaginably powerful. Take note of these characteristics. It must be spaceless, it must be timeless, it must be immaterial, and unimaginably powerful. This description is where that scientist or that guy we watched in the beginning of this video was trying to describe nothing. It looks like nothing. Whatever is spaceless seems like nothing. Whatever is timeless seems like nothing. Whatever is immaterial seems like nothing. Whatever is unimaginably powerful seems like nothing. But then actually that is God. That is much like the definition of God. And those who got the joke in that video understood. And I mean, I could see the comments, right? This argument, is generally considered to be the cosmological argument of Kalam. And it is quite reasonable to believe that God exists. I hope that this video for you is not seen as controversial or as me confronting an atheist or anything. I have done it out of respect of your opinions because I did it out of the feedback of the comments. I saw comments that made me have to make this video to present these arguments to you, to know that there is a cause for the universe. It didn't just exist. Someone more intelligent than what we know must be behind its existence and its sustenance. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to drop your comments, what you think about these arguments, these thoughts that I've shared. If you have more suggestions, please go ahead, share them with me. And I really appreciate if you like this video, if you subscribe to it, and share this with people who have counter opinions, counter thoughts, or counter arguments about this question, about this topic. Thank you for watching, and God bless you.